Good morning, everyone. The session for today's event are themed around survival tips for remote teams. So I would like to call Hemanta Chandra Bhatt for his session.
And good morning to all of you. So, I'll talk about myself a little later, but first to talk about the title of my, this little talk today. This is on the remote agility. So, remote agility, in fact, is not new. We have been working in this model since many years. What we have as a new thing, I think, for everybody is 100% remote agility, right? And not only remote agility, I think the interesting times we are in, everything is now remote. We do remote audits, we do remote conferences. So it is everything now, remote, in that manner, right? So I'll talk about that. But some of the things that is unique in the current scenario, I'll talk about that also. And some thoughts based on my experience on how to make it work in case you have to work in a 100% remote agile kind of a model also. So very briefly about myself, I've been in this area of business excellence and process management for more than 20 years now. And I head the quality team in a software company, Hughes Software. So we are in Gurgaon. So I look after the entire excellence function in the company. I have a master black belt and MTech in quality from the Indian Stat Institute. And also I'm a life member of the ISQ and the QCI. These are two big bodies in our ecosystem. And these are the two areas I'm very much interested in, very passionate about, improving business systems and processes. And also have a lot of interest in the areas of economics, finance, and investing. Let me jump on to the context for my talk today. If you read up the Agile Manifesto, the original document of Agile, which was I think put down in 2001, it talked about one of the key tenets. It was about individuals and interactions over processes and tools. So idea was that everything is important, but we value individuals and interactions more in an agile environment over the processes and tools. Also, if you have read the principles of Agile, again on the same Agile Manifesto webpage, there are 12 principles you can look at. It is available on the internet also. One of the most interesting for our discussion today, it says that the most efficient and effective way of interacting with each other is through face-to-face conversation, right? This is you can look at it from the point of view of this being the fundamental philosophy of how agile should be actually run in any organization. Now, what this means is very interestingly something called co-location, that you need to have the team working at the same location. And in fact, I have talked to some people, they said it should be actually the customer also at the same location, or at least customers POC, if not the entire customer team, right? So this was the backdrop that we have been taught so far, in which we have been talking about working in agile model and making it successful also. Now, if you cut to today, especially in the times we're living in for the last 2, 3, 4 months, remote concept I think has gained prominence. It was always important, no doubt, but now there is no other choice that you have got but to look at working in a remote manner. So if you do that, what are the challenges you can think of? Now remember face-to-face conversation. How do you do that now? Co-location, how is that going to be possible? Now what about agile ceremonies and rituals? Your daily stand-ups, sprint reviews, retrospectives, right? And any other meeting you might be having, off and on, informal talks. Now, how do you really do that? And also, In Agile, we have a lot of emphasis on teams which are self-organized, right? Empowered teams. So they can decide what to do. They can decide, so they can decide, what, way to actually complete, the sprints that they have been put on, and also personal bonding. I think to make the team actually work successfully, the key thing is how do you make them feel for each other, right? And a very good example of this is the pair programming concept, where you actually have two people working on the same piece of code, right? In the XP model, that is something that people talk about, not in the typical Scrum kind of a situation. And another point which is important is how do you coordinate your work? So who has done what ticket? You have a tool maybe available that is going to help you, but it is hard to talk to everybody, get to know what's happening on the ground. And I think the role of Scrum Master becomes much more challenging in the context of a remote, which is probably 100% remote. So what is remote agility? So if you look at the way we have, sort of evolved over multiple years since I would say 2001, if not earlier to that, almost like 20 years, you can talk about. Initially, it was the co-located or the face-to-face agile. Teams are put together, customer POC is also probably there, and you work on it, and you are able to deliver. But then if you look at the IT industry in India, we are not new to the remote concept. I remember when I joined the industry back in 2000, and the team I was a part of, so it was a globally distributed team. And there were occasions I remember where I had to sit alone in the room and connect, through some mechanism, and the team was from across the world. So we had people from China, from Singapore, from Japan, from London, from US, also multiple locations. So this was also distributed. So on the agile side, what happened is you could have a case where it is a very big project, and let's say you have 10 teams. So all the 10 are dispersed remotely. So their teams are together. That means all the team members in a team are together. The teams themselves are dispersed in multiple locations. And then we've entered now what I would call as the fully distributed agile, where now this is actually at the individual level. So now we have dispersed remote individuals, each one working from maybe their home right now, and trying to work part of a bigger team and a bigger project. So remote agility has evolved, but the definition that would apply today, I think, would be the last one, which is what we have been doing for now, quite some time. Right. So now the most important thing, given the challenges, given the model we are supposed to be working in, how do you make remote agile to work? The first thing is that you must become agile yourself, which means that you should embrace agility as a part of your DNA as an organization, as a team also, as an individual also, and enhance what I would call as your agility quotient. Agile, in fact, if you look at the original text of the manifesto, which I was referring to in the beginning, talks about, not only changing, but embracing change and also harnessing the change. I think the word harness is very important in this context. The change is given to you. You have two choices. One is you sort of, get disturbed with that. Other is you harness it. You think about it in a strategic manner. You see what you should do, and you still make things work. So this agility quotient is regarding that part of your, personality, just like IQ and EQ are, which would make you to survive in any situation. So that is important, and it is actually applicable more so to the top management, starting from there and then going down the hierarchy and up to the individual team member. I think that's what will make a difference. The second point is about co-location. I talked about it in the beginning, but if you look at it, what really was meant was not really that you have to do, work together at the same place. Idea was to create it together. I think the key, phrase there was co-creation, not co-location, and that can still happen. You have to change your modus operandi. You have to change the way you work, but it is possible to get things done. Like in our organization, we have a big account which has some five, teams, Scrum teams working, and then we have another set of teams working from two different vendors, and then we have the customer having certain own Scrum teams. So there are 10 to 12 Scrum teams, right? And they cannot be co-located. It was not the case even earlier, also 3 months back. But now the focus is on co-creation. How do you still deliver given the situation that the whole project is currently. Third is adapt and sustain the agile ceremonies and rituals. This is important. You should not stop them because they are difficult to be done in the current context. You should adapt as required and ensure they still happen. So your daily stand-ups should happen. What I have seen is that the stand-up, the duration of that stand-up has to be increased generally, so that you can have a full discussion. It is definitely a pressure on the team, but it helps. So you can look at small tweaks, not really big things as such. Some duration might be changed, some timings might be changed, right? And even the retrospective meeting, you can use a virtual whiteboard. So we have been, having that kind of system also. So there is a difference because face-to-face and a virtual face-to-face are definitely not, comparable in many ways. But this is something you should do. Do not stop the agile ceremonies just because you are not able to think of a way to do them easily. You can always find a way. You have to be innovative and agile to come up with that. The next point is about work coordination. Very important right now. And this has to be done at all the levels. You cannot go with the standard way. You may have to tweak some of the reporting structure, some of the work planning and allocation kind of processes. So that is what I have observed a lot of companies have done. I was speaking to somebody in a big IT company, and I got to know, that this is one area which needs to be focused on. Otherwise, you won't be able to deliver. So this will impact the delivery in terms of the confusion around what is in the scope, what is not in the scope, what has changed. So this needs to be streamlined for things to work in a remote scenario. Next one is the touch points for strengthening P2P bonding. So here, one thing that I observed is that if you're working with somebody face to face for, let's say, 6 months, 1 year, and you work in a virtual model, you can still work because you had the bond already formed. The challenge comes when you induct a new team member in the agile team. He is not having that touch point with anybody else in the team, that personal touch point. So you will have to think of some measures to create those touch points for the new people, especially, and especially if the customer side there is a change on the POC the customer had for your project. It is very important to focus on this so that the customer feels comfortable with dealing with you, with your entire team. And if it is not done in an effective way, so I have seen some challenges cropping up around the relation with the customer. And last, which is I think very trivial, I would say, but very important, the backbone of all this to happen is technology and processes to support collaboration. So if you have not done it, you should invest it and have those systems in place. I think now there are many tools available. You may have to strengthen your systems, and we have also done that. And with all these things that we have tried out, so we have seen that things are working fine, and impact on the delivery, I would say, is very minimal, other than the social connect part, which is definitely missing in the current scenario. So that is the last one that I had for you. If there are any questions, we can take those.
Thank you, Hemanta. Thank you for your session. So the first question is from Anil Goswami. Remote working, why you named this agile remote working? Because these principles are respect.
Right, right. Okay. See, I think the answer is in terms of one is the mechanics of it and one is the philosophy part, right? So what
Yes,
I'm meaning is the philosophy part, where you say, and again, I refer to the Agile Manifesto, right?
agree,
That
agree.
is a mother document, and that's what I always suggest to everybody in any of the discussion to go through it, right? If you have not gone through it, you just know the Scrum and the XP, you know only part of the story, right? So from a philosophical standpoint, Agile is not a new thing, right? And it was there, in fact, before 2001, right? The word has been there. And if you look at the meaning of the word agile in the dictionary, it says quick and easy. Quick means in terms of the time, you can do it fast, and easy means the effort you have to spend, right? So from that point, it is not a new concept, definitely. The term is not new. Agile was there in the dictionary, I would say since decades and centuries, hence. But the point here is from an organizational standpoint, right? So you want to inculcate a certain kind of discipline, a certain kind of culture in the organization, which would talk about being responsive to the change around you, right? Agile is probably the first framework which captured it very beautifully well, right? And there's a term, there's a reason why this term, is there. It might be repetition, but then as I always, tell a lot of people that you have to emphasize the same thing again and again to make it become institutionalized, right? So that is the reason why the agile term is used, because there is no better term, if I can add that also.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks for that.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks for the question.
Thank you. God bless.
So the next question is from Anand Vyas. Would you please explain co-creation in bit detail?
Okay, so co-creation, I think, as the word also suggests, means you create together, right? And I gave an example, if you remember, about extreme programming, right? We have a concept called pair programming, right? Where in the pure form of XP, we actually have two people sit down together and they own a piece of code together. So that is a joint ownership concept, right? Then you can extend it, right, to a bigger canvas where you can say the entire code for a sprint is owned by the entire team, right? Again, we don't do it because if you look at our traditional system of the way we are structured in organizations, right? When you finish the year, you get into the performance management cycle, right? So how do you say out of the 10 people, who is the best, right? So unfortunately, because of those challenges, you cannot get into the 100% co-creation model. But pair programming is something that you can definitely try, where you jointly own that outcome for that activity, not just one person. And if you, in fact, this is a topic which probably we can't cover in a couple of minutes. Uh, I think maybe you can take my number from Genia and you can call me. I'll be happy to, discuss more details about this.
Okay. So the next question is from Piyush. Can you elaborate P2P with an example?
Right. Okay. So P2P here is person to person, right? And the context is the bonding part. When you're in the office, you can go and have a cup of coffee together, discuss a piece of code over it, right? In the virtual sense, that would be difficult to do, right? So one of the things that I have noticed, and somebody has told me they have tried, is that there could be a kind of a tea break you could take. So basically, you are connected through video conferencing kind of a model, and everybody has a cup of tea or cup of coffee as per their preference, right? And you have an informal chat where you could discuss technical things also, right? Now, unfortunately, in the virtual model, I think work becomes the only thing that is important, right? So you are just working, working, working. That's it. You don't get time, to connect with people as people, but only as professionals. Like in my own team, what I have done is that every Friday morning I do an informal chat. There is no agenda, right? We talk about COVID-19 scenario. We talk about something else, anything. Somebody is, planning to maybe go outside. So we discuss that also, right? We tell them obviously not to step out. then people have to go for some of the important activities. The idea is to create some kind of a virtual channel where you can have people feel connected as people, not as professionals. So P2P bonding actually refers to that.
The next question is from Abhinav Jain. So we have already been working with remote teams before this time. Then what is the special emphasis now?
Okay, right. So I think I did mention that remote working is not a new thing, right? And also remote agile is not a special thing because everybody is doing remote now, whether it is audit, conference, or anything else, right? I think from an agile point of view, I would say the difference would be in terms of the, concept of self-organizing team. Unless the team is bonded completely well as a team, with individuals knowing each other, how, each one, what are the preferences, personal also, right? Then the effectiveness may not be there. So I think the only difference I would say in the current scenario would be creating those touch points where you can have them bond with each other very well and they feel like a team, though they are working from different locations, and they are able to deliver. Because the bottom line still is, can you ensure that you can deliver as you committed to the customer? Customers also know that you are in this situation because they are also in the same situation. But at the same time, the expectations around the business outcomes in terms of the schedules, in terms of the budgets, in terms of the quality of work you do, I have not seen that changing from anybody. Even we do not expect. If we are in the remote model, our customers, we expect them to give them the same thing, same way. Where we are the customer for a vendor, we don't expect any impact on the outcomes, right? So that way you have to look at it and focus only on one part, the bonding part. I think that's the only difference that I would see in agile remote versus other remote.
So the next question is from Sujit. Won't extending the duration of standard be an anti-pattern? Probably the duration could be same and the team can regroup for detailed discussions.
Yeah, that can also be done. Uh, in fact, when I was thinking about this yesterday, one word came to me which is called anti-agile. There is a word called anti-fragile, by Nicholas Taleb, right? He wrote a book also on that. He says that fragile and anti-fragile. So anti-fragile is not equal to something which is very strong, right? Similarly, I would say you have to look at the concept of anti-agile. You are agile if you can be anti-agile also. To change agile so that you can still focus on the outcome. So I talked about co-creation, not co-location. The reason for putting the whole thing was that you have to deliver as a team. You have to co-create the entire project work as a team. Location to be definitely one of the key things which can help you. But if you can't do it, would you stop delivering? The answer is no, right? So I would probably say, just to summarize the answer to your question, you probably should look at being anti-agile so that you can be truly agile.
Vatsalya is asking, any new metrics to share that can be used to measure virtual team productivity vis-a-vis as physical teams?
Okay, so that's a good question. In fact, we had a lot of discussion internally, and I remember this was, back in April beginning itself. So March we went into lockdown. April first week we had a discussion around the productivity impact and how to measure the productivity in the new context. And we found at the end that nothing has changed. The way to measure productivity is still the same. It is output over input, which are already well defined for us. So we did not change it. But what we have noticed is that we are getting better productivity now in all the projects that we have been doing. And the reason could be, as I said, it is work, and more work, right? But then the only issue is sustainability. Can you work in this model for a very long time? To me, the answer may not be a very, very strong yes. So then we get it, we got into other aspects of the team motivation, people getting bored, people getting demotivated, people now longing for coming back to the office. So productivity wise, no metrics whatever you are using, you can pretty well continue with them. But keep an eye on the productivity. If it is too high, maybe something else is breaking in the system. So if you keep an eye on that, and not be okay if it is too high, you should investigate that. Then probably you can balance it from the other side. If you let it become very high, you're very happy. This happiness will be short-lived. So you'll have to look at from a larger, time frame perspective.
Prashant Gulwari is asking, which areas did you encounter after team members starting working remote plus individuality? Which areas did you find improvement because of current working model, remote plus individuality?
Okay. So one thing which I have personally seen in my own team uh, is that people are now much more punctual about the timings. So earlier team meetings, people used to sort of walk in after several minutes also. But I have now seen that we start on time and we generally finish before time. So the team meeting productivity and the punctuality, I think, has gone up for sure. And maybe people have nothing to do, right? So they can just walk into the meeting room. And the other thing which I've noticed is this virtual meeting. You can sort of step into that in no time. Earlier we were in a meeting room with a set of people. Then I have another meeting lined up. Then I have to get out of the room, right? Walk down. It might take me a couple of minutes, right? In a virtual scenario, so that is not there now. So that is one area I have seen a lot of improvement in general in my team, and I've heard from the others also. They've also observed similar kind of phenomenon in their teams also.
One more question from Vatsalya. So, what's the biggest challenge faced under Rimdal steps?
Okay, so I think again it's a repetition of one of my earlier answers. In the beginning, in fact, right after we went into lockdown, we came up with a comprehensive guidelines for work from home, which was more of a guidance than a process or a policy. Very descriptive, and it touched upon everything, including the personal aspect, right? Uh, so I think the focus in the beginning was to ensure that we have business continuity and there's no impact on the business and we can continue to deliver. So there was an apprehension in the beginning that maybe we will not be able to do that now. It will impact the business also. But by April end, we could realize that deliveries were going as they should have gone. But we ran into the issue of I would say the engagement and motivation. So that is where we have done a lot of things, including communication from the top leadership in our organization, including publishing more detailed guidelines for the individual level concerns, not the work concerns, but other concerns, right? And also running some contests that we have been doing around some exercises you can do, yoga that you can do, right? We've been organizing talks for our people around the soft aspects, not the hard aspects, right? So I would say social connect, that is the biggest challenge that in my view that has to be taken care of.
Okay, so one more question. So, which areas did you? This is from Prashant Gulwari. So, which area did you encounter redundancies after the members starting working in remote and agility?
Right. Okay. I think again here we found we could optimize the meetings that we were doing. Earlier, there used to be many meetings, but now nobody wants to have too many meetings because the meeting is through a virtual channel. So I have personally seen that the meetings that we were getting into earlier now are getting optimized. Nobody is doing it for just the sake of it. The people plan it well. Agenda is shared in advance. People are on time for the meetings. So that is one area which I would suggest that you can also look at. Where you can optimize your effort and cut down on the overall wastage that you might have in the system today.
Okay, that's all we have. for today for you, Hemanta. Thank you so much, Hemanta, for presenting this
Thanks,
question.
Jiggy, and thanks everyone.